power up here. No, I think you give us an intro. What's that? I was going to sit down there, but I don't know who that
sorry, am I here for anything?
Oh, I
Oh, yes, this is press, sir. I'm sorry about that.
don't know. I wouldn't.
Crystal Haynes from Boston 25.
I don't know if I can beat my way through the L.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, please help me. Hi,
Yeah, I didn't realize.
weren't you back there?
Yeah.
Did you go back there? Oh, okay, so there's someone, oh, that was, oh, he's got a computer, wow. Feel free to
I
use
am
my
in
phone.
town and have lunch.
Okay.
I know it's like
I'm like the host.
Oh, yeah, you probably hear all the time, yeah.
No, 14 years.
Oh, yeah.
take me to the national stage. Question Jewish and good all at the same time. Yeah, why not? Sounds like fun. I'm sitting down with the executive committee tomorrow night to make our final transition. Yeah, Michelle and Kate. Yeah, they have retreats. Because they're actually moving out of the area during the summer. So it's perfect for them to get them to do it in the summer. So it's during the Please do. You have my number still, right? Touch me.
Same place, okay.
there just in case you have an invitation to call.
Do you want me to turn it off?
No, I mean, I have plenty of batteries.
Okay, perfect.
That way on the fly, I can, if anything goes wrong with that.
You can do it. That's just my phone. I can do that.
It's the size, but it's also like, the way they have the chair, it's like, you just can't get a decent shot.
Absolutely want to. Don't you think it's
That's why I don't
deliberate? That's deliberate.
Yeah, I bet.
Why you send someone out that's called.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you see what up with them?
No, not at all. Right.
It's time to bring peace in everything.
Andrew Beckwith. I'm with Mass Family Institute. And
Oh,
so
yes,
we've
I
got-
received a newsletter.
Oh, good. Okay. So we've got a lot of folks here today. Some have flown from out of town to testify. We're hoping everyone has time.
Yeah.
But if they, especially if they don't, but either way, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to talk to you.
Okay, perfect. Where are you sitting?
I'm right in the front. So the folks with the black T-shirts that say change, those are folks who flew from out of town.
Oh, okay.
Two folks like to
Okay.
And which helped me with you?
Boston 25.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if you you want them to do recording outside or after,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, so I'll probably, when you see when they're going to start the hearing and I'll see this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, so. You have enough room to read into this.
get more people on it.
They're already seated. I think they're all seated.
Are you moving your angle?
No, I just, my reporter's going over to see if she can talk to somebody. I'm just going to wait for her. So she can leave me over. I thought I might get some copies for the meeting.
Do you mind sending it?
I
And we are off and running today, and we are very excited to have everybody here. We know it's very early in the beginning of the session that we're getting started, but we're pleased to have this opportunity. So I just want to thank you all for joining us. We will be hearing two issues. The first one will be to talk about the banning on conversion therapy, and that will be followed by another set of bills on lifting the cap on kids. And so we are going to begin with the bills on banning conversion therapy, and the other one will probably take place around, we'll start with that around 1:30. So we're really asking, you can see we have a crowded room, we're asking people to limit their testimony to 3 minutes, and we're also encouraging people, if they have written testimony, we would love to have this written testimony, and we have our staff here at this end of the table. They'll be very happy to take any testimony that you have. And we really want to count on the 3 minutes because we have these two big bills, and we know there's a lot of interest, so we're just hoping to be able to move this along. We only have the room until 3 o'clock, so we have to get things done. So I just want to remind everybody to turn off their cell phones, and then we can begin. And I just also want to recognize the great committee we have. These are some new members. So I've been the chair of the Committee on Children and Families for several years now, and I'm welcoming my Senate chair who is just joining us, and we have some new members of the committee. And I'm going to start at the very end. I think that's Senator Eldridge that I see. Okay, and I'm hoping I can even pronounce the names correctly. So if I don't, I apologize in advance. And we have, sorry. We have Representative Elgardo. Did I say that? We're getting this all. We have Senator Soto.
No, representative, not senator yet.
Not yet. And then we have Representative Soto and Senator Charles. Did I get that right? Okay, good. So we'll turn to this side. And we have Senator Roush, Representative Hecht, Representative Ferguson, Representative Cutler, and I just also want to introduce our staff. We have, I think they're all over here. We have, almost said representative, we have Amani Mansour, Lisa Rosenfeld, and Maya over here. So is that everybody staff? Did we get everybody? Okay. All right, so we're going to get started, and we have, we often take our legislators first, so I'm going to invite Senator Chandler, who's here to testify, number 1. So thank you very much for being here. And Senator Sear.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Madam Chairs and members of this distinguished committee. I am here to testify briefly on both bills. But the first bill that I would just like to say a word about is House 140 and Senate 70, and very much in favor of both of these bills. And now I'd like to spend the time I have left talking about the House 110 and Act on Conversion Therapy. I'd first like to thank you, Madam Chair, for your years of leadership on this issue, and the committee for agreeing to have such an early hearing date. We appreciate that so much. I'm a strong supporter of this legislation, and I'm hopeful that in this session, finally, we will make it the law of the land. It's been far too long that we have tried to get this to the finish line. We're here now, I hope. And today we're taking the first step to finally banning conversion therapy in Massachusetts. My opposition to conversion therapy stems from my belief that we are all created equal, regardless of our sexual orientation or gender identification. Conversion therapy is based on the concept that people's sexual orientation or gender identity can be fixed. Well, I say there's nothing to fix. I know that is deeply harmful to our constituents if we continue to allow this practice to go on. I have seen it over and over again. I have constituents who have told me personally of the harm that has been done to them by conversion therapy, and I say no more. Martin Luther King Jr. told us that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. President Barack Obama likes to add to that, saying, well, it doesn't bend on its own. It bends because you put your hand on that arc and you bend it towards justice, unquote. Ladies and gentlemen of this committee, I'm asking you to join me and help me to bend it today by giving a favorable report to House Bill 140, an act relative to abusive practices to change sexual orientation and gender identity in minors. This is in your hands. We ask for your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairs. I'm Senator Julian Sear. I represent the Cayman Islands District. I'm also one of several out members in the legislature. And House Bill 140, it is high time that we take action again on this bill. This committee has led on this legislation before. Actually, I think too many sessions to count. It's high time that we do this. And this is not who we are in Massachusetts, not to pass this legislation. As an out man, I'm embarrassed that over a dozen states have banned conversion therapy, and we haven't done so in Massachusetts. I urge swift action on this bill. I hope it receives a favorable report, and we can vote on it once again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you both. I just wanted to make sure there weren't any questions. If anybody had any questions, we'll move on. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to the hearing. Now I'd like to introduce Representative Lewis, Representative Bouvier, Representative Farley Bouvier, and I believe there may be some folks. Well, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. And I know all of you would like to speak, but
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm Risha Farley Bouvier from the 3rd Berkshire District, and I'm joined here with a number of my colleagues. We're here to speak in support of House 140, sponsored by Chairwoman Khan, which would prohibit state licensed health providers from subjecting children under the age of 18 to harmful and abusive conversion therapy practices. And if I may, I'd like to give this opportunity to allow my colleagues that are standing behind the Northern Progressive Caucus to introduce themselves. We'll just start over here.
Representative my colleague, Representative Somerville.
Representative Larry Robinson from Framingham.
Representative Denise Provo, Somerville.
Representative Natalie White from Shrewsbury District.
Representative Jim Hawkins, Attleboro.
Representative Tommy Vitolo, Brookline.
Representative Liz Miranda, Dorchester and Roxbury.
Representative Sean Gardley, Arlington.
Representative Mindy Dom, Amherst, Pelham, and 1 precinct in Granbury.
Representative Paul Broad from Millwood.
Lindsay Savarissa, First Hampshire.
Thank you so much to you, both you chairwomen, and to this entire committee. What a fabulous turnout this is by both committee members and the general public. As you said, Madam Chair, there's a great interest in this bill. We have done work on this bill over many, many years. My first hearing that I ever had as a legislator 7 years ago, this was on the agenda. And when I first saw it, like in written form, I thought, well, why are we telling parents what they can do? This doesn't seem quite right. And then I came to the hearing and I listened. And to be honest, I was appalled. I was appalled that we allow this practice to happen to the children of the Commonwealth. And I'm joined, flanked by 2 colleagues who would like to give their testimony, including some personal testimony. So I'm going to turn it over now to Representative.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairs, for this opportunity. This is an issue that hits home. Hits home for me, and I know it hits home for so many of us. Prior to being elected, as many of you know, I had the great honor of starting an organization that served LGBTQ middle and high school youth. And prior to being elected for 6 years, that was my life. Day after day, week after week, working with young people to make sure they had all the supports in the world imaginable so that they could not only survive adolescence, but ideally thrive in adolescence as well. And I can tell you, with all the stresses kids experience today, some of those stresses we experienced way back in the day when we were kids ourselves still exist. Stress around parents and siblings and friends and your first job and the upcoming test. Those all still exist. But kids today have things in their lives we didn't have. Social media, for example, and making sure that they present themselves to the world in a way that their friends and their colleagues understand. But I can tell you, for the kids we worked with, for the young people I had the honor of working with, there was one more thing in their lives that just added to the complexity of what it meant to be an adolescent. They were questioning who they were. They were questioning who they were at their core, who they were attracted to, and with that, there were a lot of fears. Will my friends accept me? Will I be bullied at school? But I can tell you there was one fear that was almost universal among all of those youth, a fear that was greater than the great fear of bullying or being rejected by friends, and it was the idea that those people in their lives, their loved ones, their parents, those who claimed to love them more than anyone else on the planet, their major fear was that those people were going to reject them. Or maybe even worse, because we live in one of the 35 states that still allows licensed conversion therapy, that their parents, who claimed to love them, were going to force them to go through a therapy to change who they, at their core, knew they were. So today, I implore you to hear the testimony before you, hear the experiences of young people and adults who've been forced to go through this therapy while they were young themselves. And I ask you, on behalf of the hundreds of youth that I once worked with, for the thousands of youth in our Commonwealth who are just trying to figure it all out while maintaining their grades and maintaining their friendships, I implore you to join the 15 other states in banning this barbaric practice. You may hear today from opponents to this ban, and I just want to remind you that we aren't the first state. Unfortunately, we're not the first. 15 have already gone down this path, and while I would have rather been the first, I want us to make sure we're the next. This does nothing to infringe upon First Amendment rights. It does nothing to prevent religious leaders from counseling in a way that's outside of professional state licensing. And it does nothing to prevent adults from seeking these therapies if they so wish. This is only a bill addressing young people, licensed therapy here in the Commonwealth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairwoman Khan and Chairwoman Chang Diaz. The testimony I'll be giving is pretty emotional for me and cuts really close to home, so I will be reading my testimony, and I appreciate the patience. I am here in support of House 140, an act relative to abusive practices to change sexual orientation and gender identity in minors. As the mother of a transgendered son, a public health social worker for the last 18 years, and an elected official, I am proud to be one of 117 House and Senate sponsors of this very important bill. My son Camden is talented, caring, and bright. He's a 17-year-old at Acton-Boxborough High School. Like any other teenager, Cam has explored a myriad of interests and ways of expressing himself, from the types of music he listens to the styles of clothing he wears, to the sports he enjoys, and the ways that he dedicates his free time. But Cam is also unlike many other teenagers. If you ask any adult who knows him, from mentors at church to family friends, they will tell you that he has grown into one of the most self-assured, confident, and mature teens they know. And as his mom, I am here to tell you that Cam is one of the bravest people that I will ever have the honor of knowing and loving. In the fall of 2016, Cam came out to me and his brother as a transgender male. He shared his truth knowing that he faced the possibility of being rejected by the family he loves and trusts the most. He was honest with himself, he was honest with his family, and he has been honest with friends, members at church and school, and with the students he counsels at camp. The type of honesty that Cam has displayed as a young person ought to be encouraged, admired, and emulated by others. Conversion therapy is the opposite of all of these honorable, brave, and admirable values that my son practices and possesses. Conversion therapy is based on lies that damage individuals and their relationships with themselves and with others. Conversion therapy is an inhumane practice that denies individuals of their core selves, their true identities, and robs the world of their beautiful, authentic selves. Conversion therapy is fundamentally an abusive practice and must be banned immediately. When Cam came out, I immediately kicked into mama bear mode to protect him from those who would try to shame him, deny him his humanity and his right to exist, or try to force him to change into someone he is not. I worked proactively to find him a gender-affirming therapist and have been taking him to Fenway Health, for the last 2 years for his health care. As a public health social worker who has worked with gender and sexual minorities and vulnerable teens, I know the detrimental impacts that shaming and denying one's humanity can have on a person. Higher rates of depression, suicide, homelessness, anxiety, drug use, and STDs. However, my work has also focused on protective factors. Kids and teens who have loving adults in their lives, adults who support them with respect, kindness, and justice, and embrace their full humanity, are kids and teens who are more likely to grow up into healthy, productive adults. Every single child in our state deserves love and support, and to have their humanity affirmed and celebrated rather than shamed and judged. Every one of our children and teens deserves to receive health care and therapeutic treatment that is ethical, encourages self-exploration and self-acceptance, and affirms their core identity. As elected officials, it is our duty to uphold the Constitution and to protect all children from abusive practices that damage the soul and lead to life-altering adverse consequences. I ask for a favorable vote on Post 1.
Well, those two testimonies, Madam Chair, are pretty powerful testimonies about what's happening to real people in our community. And one thing that really struck me of the representative's testimony is that we know that when you deny somebody's sexual orientation, it is a public health risk. It is a public health risk. One thing that struck me as I listened to testimony over the years about this is the position that parents are in. We're in a new world here as parents, trying to navigate what's out there. It wasn't our experience as kids growing up necessarily. Things were kind of more in the closet, as they say. And so parents are looking to professionals for help. What do I do in this situation? I don't know anybody else in this situation. How can I get help? And when they turn to a professional, they think they're getting sound therapy. And then there are those out to do harm. And that is when the state has to step in. And this is what this bill does. This bill and its intentions is why the American Medical Association, the American Psychiatric Association, the American Psychological Association, the National Association of Social Workers, and dozens of other leading medical, mental health, and human service organizations universally condemn conversion therapy and find these attempts to change a minor sexual orientation or gender identity are both unnecessary, they're ineffective, and they're harmful. It's important for the people of this committee to understand that this bill does not apply to adults. If you are an adult and you have made the decision for any reason that you think that something might be wrong with you or you would like to make a change, then you are free as an adult to seek this kind of therapy. This also doesn't apply to religious institutions. These are about state licensed therapists. So this idea that the state is trying to tell people what they can do and what they can be is false. It's a false narrative being peddled. This bill seeks first and foremost to protect children, and it also seeks to protect the parents. Madam Chair, I cannot thank you enough for the leadership, the persistent leadership you have shown on this issue over very many years. This is the time